Nigerians are expected to seek out the best. 2 words to describe the activity.
The Yoruba Unity Forum is conducted.
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa.
Presidential
we break the news.
Women in Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV Primetime
a
News.
24-hour news station.
It's Core Digest Tuesday edition, exclusive to Core TV News, and Nigerians are still basking in the euphoria of what is called a change. It's the first time in 16 years that an opposition party will be forming the government at the center. On the show this morning, we're turning our attention to Nigerians in diaspora. What exactly are the expectations of the incoming government? We're joined by Director General of the Nigerian Institute. I believe that it's a resource library that provides reports and studies on investment opportunities in Nigeria. Femi, okay? Thank you very much for finding time to come.
Good morning.
Good morning, Femi. How long have you been living outside Nigeria?
Oh, quite a few years now. Most of my life, actually. Right. 40 odd years.
8 years.
40.
40 years.
Yeah. But I come in and out of Nigeria from time to time.
Were you given birth to there?
Yeah, I was born in.
You grew up there.
Yeah, but I schooled in Nigeria. Did my YK here.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, how long do you have to live outside Nigeria to lose your mother tongue and sound foreign like you do?
Well, I haven't been born there, so hence the accent I have.
Because there are many Nigerians who are born here, who study here, and then they leave the shores of Nigeria within a few weeks and they're back with the with the European tongue.
That's true. It's hard to have the strong accent, but you know, once you get into Nigeria, things change. You start speaking pidgin and whatnot.
Do you speak pidgin?
Small.
I'm wondering how that one would sound.
Please does.
It's all right. Let's talk about Nigerians in diaspora. The Buhari speech at Chatham also brought some attention to how interested Nigerians living outside the country are in the political realities in Nigeria. We saw some sort of a protest of two sides, while some were in support of Jonathan, the other were in support of Buhari. How would you describe the political awareness of Nigerians there?
Nigerians in the diaspora are quite politically aware with the internet, social media and whatnot. So there's nothing that's really happening in Nigeria that they're not hearing it in the UK and anywhere in the world, as it were. So in fact, some cases they're aware of information before many people are aware of it in Nigeria. So they're quite abreast with what's happening and they're fully engaged. However, saddened because they're not entitled to vote, which is something which they'd seek to want to be redressed by the new government.
Yeah, you said they are aware of things that would happen in Nigeria even before Nigerians get to know. So what are the feeds? What feeds them this information you're talking about?
Well, again, with the social media, a lot of information gets put on WhatsApp, on Twitter and whatnot. So they get access to that instantaneously. So in many instances, if some people haven't got access to power and their phone is down, or they can't watch the news because the power's not there, in the UK they've got power 24/7, so they're getting that information straight away.
There's a question of the credibility of this stream of information. The social media, how true are those information?
Well, there are obviously questions with some of the media feeds, but what you have to do is you've got to feed through all the information and try and find the correct, corroborated information. I think you get a feed, then it gets followed up, and as it keeps on getting substantiated, then the general media brings it into the focus, so you'll know what's genuine within, a few hours, really.
You're very passionate about the role Nigerians in diaspora can play in national development, especially back at home. But let's put it in proper perspective. Which of these Nigerians are you concerned about? Are they the traditional Africans? Because there are some Nigerians that date back their history to about 400 years in places like Brazil and Cuba, or the recent Nigerians who checked out, recently out of the country?
Okay, well, see, there, as you rightly said, there are different streams of Nigerians in diaspora. And it is a crying shame that our governments previously haven't really sought to engage, especially those that you talk about, the ancient Nigerians, because, for example, I've been to Cuba, and when I went to Cuba, I was surprised to know that they were still speaking Yoruba. You see someone who looks almost nearly white, mixed, and they will start speaking Yoruba, they do the traditional dancing and the music and whatnot. But what is their real link to Nigeria? Apart from the fact they've got the language, and some of them even remember their names, they know what towns they came from, they'll tell you about their Oriki. But we as Nigerians, are we really pulling them back to let them know that this is your origin? We're talking about diversifying the economy, tourism and whatnot. Bringing those people back home, learning from their experiences, I think would really help the nation. So that's one area. Then you've got the diasporans, again, there's another set of diasporans that left originally maybe to study, in the 60s, 50s, came back and found that they couldn't cope, and then went back to the UK or America or whatnot, and then set up families. Second, third, fourth generations of Nigerians are there who maybe have never even been to Nigeria. So, and they're excelling in the UK. I mean, many of them are in Parliament, many of them in big companies doing many great things, bolstering the economies of many countries around the world. And so we need to tap into that and bring the best of our people back home, especially at this crucial time of change.
Yeah, what was the general feeling of Nigerians in diaspora when they were being told that they wouldn't be participating at the 2015 election through voting? Actually, what was the feeling like?
I would say, of course, there's some who are apathetic; they don't care anyway. But most were disappointed because they'll see their fellow Africans, such as South Africans and Ghanaians, Kenyans, and other smaller countries, can vote. And why we are supposedly the giant of Africa, the #1 economy and whatnot, we can't put together a system that will enable our diaspora to vote, despite the fact that several previous governments under the PDP platform have promised, they come over many times, symposiums and whatever, we will give you the right to vote, we'll give you the right to vote, especially when they're campaigning and they need money. That's when they come and say, we're going to do it, we're going to do it. After the elections, we don't hear anything anymore. So a lot of them are disappointed because if you think that there are quite a few millions of Nigerians in the diaspora, so the difference between the votes of Jonathan and Buhari was just about 3 million, if I'm right. And so those votes, if taken into account, could have made a serious impact. So the fact that they didn't really think that that was necessary to bring into the equation, I think is disappointing.
But have you been able to identify the connect, really, that lies between Nigerians there and here? Because at times when you hear about Nigerians who have done bad things, the Mutalab, the terrorist affiliation, Nigerians here will tell you they've lived in Britain all their lives. They can't call them Nigerians. But when you hear about Nigerians winning parliamentary seats in the UK, we quickly identify with them as Nigerians. What's really that connect between the two parties?
Well, as in all people, there are good and bad, so we cannot just take the glory of the good ones and then forget the ones of the bad ones. But what you will find is that the negative bad eggs will be quite minor. There will be a small percentage of any normal population. So so there are a lot of Nigerians out there that are keen to be part of Nigeria. Many of them have come back, have been disappointed, red tape, 419, all sorts of situations have made them feel, what is the point? If they want to come and invest, but the groundwork is not there to enable life to be easy for them. So, and then you've got some Nigerians who say, why should we make life easy for them? After all, they're coming from the West. They should, why should we make it easy for them? It's not easy for us over here. So they're kind of like rivalry kind of thing. And then you've got some politicians, if you like, may not like to see the likes of some people from Europe or coming over because they might start revealing things, opening people's eyes that they might be competitors to them, and they wouldn't want that. So they want to keep that, suppress that. So that's not really in the interest of furtherance of improvement of the quality of the country.
You've lived in the UK for close to 40 years.
Yes.
And thank God you're now in Nigeria. So
yes.
You've seen how life is the two different places.
Yes.
Are things that bad in Nigeria, the way Nigerians in diaspora perceive it?
I don't want to be too negative, but it's really there's a big chasm between Europe and Nigeria. And not even just Europe. I mean, as I said, I've traveled to Brazil, I've traveled to Egypt, South Africa, Kenya, Mauritius, Swaziland. I can name all these countries. And the difference is so glaring. You know, I've just come from Urume, which is a lovely town in
Edo State.
And it was full of potential and lots of nice buildings and whatnot, but the local authority there's failing. Refuse everywhere, the roads in disrepair, although there's good network or whatever, but there's some basic fundamental things that just put us so far behind.
Why do you think things are not really working in Nigeria?
It's a combination of many things. One is it's historical in a way. From when you look at the way Nigeria was developed from the onset, when our colonizers, the English, were here, what you will find that where the English were, like the town centres of Lagos, you know, Broad Street, Marina and whatnot, would most probably resemble most of the UK. You know, they set it up as if it was in the UK. But then now go to where the Nigerians were living at that time, it will be like chaos. You see, so, and then what you then find is that the nation has then developed in that similar chaotic fashion over years, you see, and it's just expanding and expanding and expanding. And so no real systems. And then when the military came in, they truncated things and used executive fear and did things whichever way they liked. And so, you know, whatever systems that may have been growing just, you know, became flawed. And so everything has just been done in a really haphazard way.
You had your secondary education in Nigeria.
That's correct.
That's a lot of years before now. And for the Nigeria you saw then and the Nigeria you see now, are you saying that there's been no development at all?
Okay, development is an interesting situation. My cousin, who's in his 60s now, made it known to me that when he was young, they had constant electricity. He said he took the trains, you know, from his village to the city, you know. So you got to ask yourself, what's happened? If you say there's development, you know, we don't have constant electricity now. Can you take the train to anywhere in Nigeria? You know, there's a lot of things like that which were happening in the 60s and the 50s are not happening now in the 70s. So we may have more schools being built. We may have more universities being done. There may be thousands more kilometers of roads. But in general, things are still worse off. I think they're not necessarily much better, you know. So water, in those days, maybe water was more prevalent for many people. Now you'll find that people can't find water. So what's the state of the health? Okay, there are more hospitals, but how many people have access to them? You know, you have more schools. What's the quality of the education then? I mean, when I go back to my school, apparently it's just chaos now.
We'll get back to Nigeria, but I'm concerned about the quality of life that exists outside Nigeria for Nigerians, because I don't know if you are baffled. We've heard stories of what Nigerians go there to do. Wash plates, mop floor. It's sounds like slave trade in a whole new sense. Are you baffled about the quality of lives that Nigerians enjoy there and how they get there? You've heard about the thousands of people who die in the Mediterranean Sea, how Nigerians enter these countries illegally.
Right. You see, again, there's different types of Nigerians. There are the Nigerians that were born in the UK, the diasporan sort of ones, and then they've got ones that have come in from Nigeria. And what are they coming in from Nigeria for? Because they're escaping. They're escaping the failed system that's Nigeria right now. So you have millions of graduates who can't get a job, you know, millions of people with qualifications can't do anything, can't get a job, can't start a business, you know, can't feed their families. They feel that they're a burden on their parents, so they need to go to other shores to really better themselves. But many of them may come in illegally, as you say, and when they do come in illegally, they find out that actually the economies over there aren't doing too great as well. You know, there's a downturn, a recession, and whatnot. So then any foreigner is become, you know, we don't want to give jobs to the foreigners, and so then they'll come from Nigeria where it's hard to go to London where it's even harder. And so even if you're a graduate, you'll find that that degree you have in Nigeria is worthless maybe in the UK. And again, if you're not if you haven't got the right immigration status, you're not gonna find yourself in that kind of job. So you end up doing menial jobs, as you've said. You know, maybe being a care worker or cleaner or whatnot. So you can have a cab driver who's got, you know, accountancy degree or whatnot. So, but then again, some people are prepared to take that on board because the money he's going to get, even in that state, is much better than if he was sitting down in Lagos or Abeokuta doing nothing. So, you know, it's a kind of catch-22. But then again, they have to pay taxes. They have to pay everything is, you know, everything is charged over there. So in the end, when they balance it out, it's not really. They kind of have a meager existence over there as well. So it's not easy. So a lot of them get trapped. Actually, they can't come back.
Is it worth it after all? Because I'm really baffled about what inspires Nigerians to travel out. When you hear about how people die walking through African deserts out of the desperation to get a life in Europe.
Yeah, but we can talk about all the negative ones, but there are still those that do make it over there, work hard, you know, legitimize their stay, and then become, you know, positive people in society in the UK. There are many of those. So as we always say, you have the bad stories and you have the good stories. So there are many millions, thousands of them that are doing well.
At the Chatham House, we see Nigerians in diaspora divided between PDP and APC. Is that the reality, and what informs, you know, the political bias of those people there?
Well, I wouldn't say that the diasporans are homogeneous in terms of their opinion. They're all supporting change or whatnot. But it's quite instrumental to notice that if you did watch those clips about those people professing to be PDP supporters, you notice they were paid. So you now have to ask, well, many of them were paid. They said they didn't even know why they were there. So those kind of people, you've got to ask yourself, are they really supporters of the government per se? Or they just, you know, rent a crowd? So, whereas on the other hand, those who were in support of change, they weren't being paid, so they came of their own convolition. So it's not to say that there's no PDP supporters, but maybe they didn't feel the need to come out in their numbers at that time, or maybe their numbers are quite suppressed.
What really informed this strong belief in the change message?
Because we know that Nigerians are disappointed. Nigerians are diaspora disappointed in general with the lack of positive development and the chaos and the impunity of the corruption and all this kind of stuff. So they actually believe that there is a need for a change, just like most people in Nigeria believed there was a need for a change. And without any other viable alternative, they have to go for what the alternative is. Let's try something different at least. We don't want to go back to the days of military dictatorship. So this is an opportunity. Let's see whether it can actually make that change that they say they're going to do.
So it really was not because the other party presented more programs, but because it was just for change for change.
They were just desperate for a change.
It was just desperation for change.
Well, different people have their own motives for change. You know, you could want change for change's sake. You could want change because you believe in progressive policies. Because we might, if you look at the history of Nigeria, you'll find that since independence, in fact before independence, the nation's always been ruled by the conservatives. During the time of Tafawa Balewa, they were conservatives, MPC or whatever they were called. During NPN was conservatives, yeah? So all the way PDP are conservatives. So progressive governments have never really taken foot in this nation. And that's because whenever it's time to merge, instead of emerging, they're always fighting amongst themselves. During the time of Action Group, Zeke and Awolowo, they fought themselves, they couldn't unify. During the time of UPN, again, they thought they'd bring in PPP, all the parties come together. In the end, they couldn't do it. So now they've managed to do it.
Well, the debate is still on whether the man at the center of the APC at this time is progressive or conservative, but that's for another day. Let's begin to look at the expectations of Nigerians in diaspora, especially. Probably I should start by asking you if you think the priority of this new government would be Nigerians outside or within.
Of course, it's got to be Nigerians within. That's as a first and foremost priority to sort out what's happening on the ground. But they shouldn't lose sight of the fact that, when you are in government, you are for all Nigerians, and the constituency of Nigerians are those within Nigeria as well as those outside Nigeria. And previous governments have played lip service to those outside Nigeria, and I believe they need to make a difference now and try and engage them more, because they have a lot to offer. So if you engage them and get the best of them to come in, they will support those within Nigeria to improve the economy as a whole. I mean, Nigerians in diaspora, they contribute billions of dollars every year, but most of that goes to their friends and family in support, helping their moms and their aunties or whatever. But they could equally bring money in that same measure for investment to create jobs. But I think it ought to be done in a coordinated manner, not just any willy, okay, I just want to invest, if they do it in a more coherent manner, constructively done, then the benefit of that, the multiplier effect, could go a long way.
What are your ideas on this front?
Well, there are many ideas. I mean, it's very simple in the sense that I think the House of Reps, they passed a bill about the Diaspora Commission, okay? But that's not yet law. I don't know whether the Senate has passed it either as well. So we would want to see that to become law. And then through the auspices of the Diaspora Commission, they could then set up consultancy offices in various countries abroad, and then use those avenues as sort of investment vehicles where Nigerians and diasporas can collate together, put together programs in different industries, because development is a wide area. There's so many different areas to invest in. So, but the government may want to prioritize certain areas and say, okay, we want to invest in this area, we want to invest in that area, and what expertise do we have outside Nigeria? You can look at other countries that have diasporans and how did they develop their economy. If you look at Israel, if you look at even China, India, Pakistan, Korea, they have diasporans, and they helped. China wouldn't be here today where it is now without the help of a lot of its diasporans in America. The Americans will say that it was kind of espionage because they planted a lot of Chinese people there, and there was some kind of economic espionage. But nevertheless, we need to do that, because we can't expect these countries to transfer technology. They're not going to do it. We have to help ourselves. And there's people, we have our Nigerians abroad who've got access to this technology. Let them get the best that is out there and bring it into Nigeria.
Do we have the same feeling, like you're passionate about it, amongst the people there? Are they willing to come back home, even if the situation or the circumstance is quite good for it?
There's a quiet majority that are keen to want to come back. There are those that will say, Nigeria, never again. I'm out, I've escaped, I'm never going to come back. And in fact, some of them even want to deny their Nigerianness, almost pretend that they're not even Nigerians anymore. So those ones, maybe it's a lost cause for them. But at the same time, Nollywood has really helped. Nigerian music has really helped focus people's, idea of Nigeria. When the Nigerian football team and athletes do well, they remember their Nigerianness. They can't forget their language. So when Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa, when all these positive things start happening, people will be more likely to want to come back to Nigeria.
That's right.
But then if they want to come back, the circumstances must be put on the ground to make life easier for them to enter. Otherwise, they'll say, why invest in Nigeria when I can invest in Ghana? I can invest in Brazil or Lithuania or any other country for that matter. And it'll be much easier for me. I won't have the problems. I'll still get my return on my investment. And so, we still have to ask ourselves, why Nigeria?
What do you expect from the incoming administration as regards rebranding the image of the country in the eyes of the global community?
Yeah, Nigeria does need rebranding. There's a serious amount of work that needs to be done. I mean, corruption is seen as the main problem at the moment, and they're saying that if you can solve corruption, then you can solve everything else. Corruption is a big problem, and it's not just an individualistic problem. It's not just the leaders. It's a societal problem. At every level you want to think about, there's corruption. So there's going to be some need for orientation, of this polity. I mean, and I believe that I mean, in the times when Buhari came in the first time, they had a thing called war against indiscipline. And I think they need to have a war, a similar thing, but starting even with just cleanliness of the environment. They had an environmental day and whatnot. You know, cleanliness of mind, cleanliness of the environment, it can really help to then change things around. You live in a dirty environment, you live a dirty lifestyle, so everything becomes dirty and squalid. So if you start cleaning that, when you go out of your house, the place is fresher, it looks brighter, you know, many positive things to be done. So they need to start putting things in place to make the environment clean, make that kind of policy in place, and then start looking at cleaning up the corruption and stuff. Put in place policies that negate having, sometimes it's that one-on-one system. You know, over in the West, many things are computerized. So if you want to make an application for X, Y, and Z, go and do it online. So when you do it online, that cuts out all those 419s. Because over here, if you want to submit a form, you're going to meet this person. Before he even collects the form, you need to give him money. By the time the form is in there, before they push it to the next level, you need to give another money. Okay, they've processed it now. Okay, give me the result. Give another money. So, but if it was all automated, and with technology nowadays, it's so simple to do, and it's really cost not so expensive if they look at ways of doing it. They can make a lot of these things done online. I mean, applying for your passport now apparently is online. You can do that now, and visas and stuff you can do online. But they need to do it in almost every sphere of government. So cut the way, you know, the opportunities for people to just be tipping their hands in the trough.
What's the perception like in the UK? Because they tell you once you say you're a Nigerian, then they look at you yet again, and there's these that being skeptical about dealings with you. How realistic is that opinion outside?
Yeah, I mean, I think that came up from during the 80s and the 90s. I think that perception is not so much now.
Okay.
I think in the 80s and 90s, Nigerians the image was, you know, that they're 419 drugsters doing importing drugs and whatever. But there's been a lot of hard work in terms of curtailing importation of drugs and trafficking and stuff like that. And it's not just a Nigerian thing anymore now. So they're not stigmatized in that way. And as in the 419, I think that during the times the FCC, when they were working quite strongly, they did curtail a lot of that, even though it's still happening. And what you've got to look at is that even in 419 in the world, there are other countries doing vast amounts of fraud, on internet fraud, on a grander scale than what Nigerians are doing. If you go to what they're doing in Russia, what the Chinese are doing, so we are really small fry, you know.
Okay, thank you very much for finding time to come on the show today. And we hope that subsequently you'll find time to come to discuss more of these issues.
It would be nice to come again.
Fabio is Director General of the Nigerian Institute, joins us today on Cold Digest. We'll take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll join another Nigerian who's also spent most of her life outside the country as we look at the expectations of Nigerians in diaspora on the income. And stick around, don't go away.
It is often said that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. But what about the things in life that actually inspire us to believe? Like the things that... It is often said that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. But what about the things in life that actually inspire us to believe? Like the things that drive us, the things that move us, and even the things that remind us that the sky really isn't our limit. Because when we are inspired, we are led to future greatness. But first, we just have to believe.
One day I want to build Nigeria's first aeroplane.
I know. One day you'll make us proud.
Rich and creamy peak, extra fortified with 28 vitamins and minerals. Here's to 60 years of nourishing dreams and inspiring the future. The future is bright. Reach for your peak.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digi360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Women share the most amazing thoughts on national issues, and they do it passionately.
For most men that are educated, that are exposed, will see nothing to it.
The population and the level of poverty made me cry. No infrastructural development whatsoever. And you tell me Lagos is working?
That was an accident, and it was a one-off thing. Other than that, there has never been any situation in Nigeria where a Nigerian attacked anybody just because of where they came from.
Sharing the adorable word of women in politics every week, only on Core TV News.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. It's Core Digest Tuesday edition, exclusive to Core TV News. Abimbola Junai joins us now. She's Executive Director of Arise for All. Good morning. Thank you for finding time to come.
Thank you for having me.
What's Arise for all about?
Well, Arise for All is a group under my organization, which is called Arise Nigerian Women Foundation. But Arise for All actually came to be during and after the 2015 elections, where it's a platform to retain citizens' engagement, which we saw as people stood and demanded for their rights around elections and protected their mandate. We feel it should continue. So everyone still needs to be on hold to ensure that with the new dispensation, we are holding governments accountable to the citizens.
Well, talking about Nigerians and diaspora on the show today, thank God you have not lost your Nigerian tongue yet.
Okay, I thought I had an accent, so you're saying I don't have an accent? All right, okay.
Probably because you just spent 12 years outside the country.
Just 12 years? Okay. Do you want to know what I've become in 12 years? But anyway, yes, I think that for me as a diasporan, and I'm still a diasporan because I don't want to be lost from that community. Once a diasporan, you would always be, is that no one actually leaves their country consciously to say I'm going to live in another country. It must be that it has to be either like in our history, it's been through the slave trade, or in more recent times, voluntary migration for a better life. And even when you become a diasporan, you never stop loving your country. As the AU defines who an African diasporan is, they say it's a community of Africans that are communities of Africans living in another continent, but retains that community regardless of their nationality or citizenship, but willing to still contribute to the development of their country. And I think that is a good description of what a diasporan is.
Yeah, you said for a better life. How better is the life out there?
I was just saying that I have a problem with people when they actually look down on people in the diaspora, saying, oh, they live a second life, a second class life and all of that. I beg to differ. I started humbly as a supermarket stacker. I worked in the bakery, in a restaurant, in a supermarket, if anyone does knows of Sainsbury's. But I never forgot where I was going with the opportunities that are available in that community. I believe in dignity of labor. Whilst even working, I had opportunities of healthcare insurance. I had opportunity of going back to college to study more on what I was doing, even though I was a student and I was doing those jobs. And as I sit here and speak to you, I'm a UK parliamentary ambassador, which means that I have actually understudied a Labour leader, which happens to be the deputy Labour leader of the Labour Party of the United Kingdom. And that's, corridors of power. So it depends on what you want to do with those opportunities that are massive.
Okay,
so,
are you saying if you had stayed in Nigeria, you wouldn't have gotten all of these opportunities?
My dear, you can answer your questions. I mean, the difference here is that those opportunities, you didn't need to know anybody. You just needed to be hungry for opportunities, and you just needed to have focus, which is always very important in anything you're doing. But I think it's that society understands in terms of human development, and the developed world would always be about economic power. So everything and anything, if you're a grandmother and you can still go back and get some knowledge or contribute something back into the economy, they're willing to, take you up. So what I'm trying to say is that because you live in the diaspora doesn't necessarily mean that you're living a second-class citizenship. But I think that it would depend on who you associate yourself with. Sorry. Who you're associating yourself with, what you're there doing. Of course, you have others who would be more interested in all the tricks in the books. I mean, another very interesting thing is I had credit cards up to the value of, let's say, £50,000. And I had aunties, uncles always saying, it's here, back here, with Bono and all of those things. But I had siblings who I look up to, and they never have done such a thing. So it wouldn't even be up until I came back to Nigeria that I'm using my credit facilities on that. So are you saying a country that I have paid my tax into that has laws that says that the banks should ensure I have capital if I am a good citizen, repaying my loans, offer me up payments of loans to do business, do very good things in life, is a bad society?
It's good that, it's good that you're sharing your story, but can you tell us what really inspired your migration in the first place?
Okay. When I have siblings there. I have mixed siblings who their mom is not Nigerian, and I look up to my siblings. So naturally, when I finished my first degree, they actually said, the next port of call should be you coming over there to do a master's. And I did get in with the hope of starting my master's immediately. But I think I have a very adventurous soul. And they said I should do my master's degree in a particular course. But then the opportunities in the society, which is what I'm doing now, that shows you what you can bring back as a diasporan. Then I started volunteering because I saw the adverts of volunteering in the paper. That sounded interesting to me. My brothers just left me at home with food, drinks, and everything, and I could play around. But then reading their papers, I realized, voluntary work, that sounds like something I want to do. Then I checked, it wasn't too far from home. Cool. I still get the pocket money from my brother, then I still get to go out. So I did. And about a few days into the job, they said, there's a vacancy. Do I want to take it up? And I said, I don't even know what you do. They offered me 6 months training on the job. How could I say no? So from there, what my brothers thought I should be doing my master's in didn't interest me because this happened to be a charity. And that opened my life and world into the world of charity, and I've never looked back.
All right. The 2015 elections actually had a lot of involvement of Nigerians in diaspora. What really informed this love and interests in elections?
Like I said, one of the good things that the diasporans does very well is to keep the governments of their countries on their toes. And this doesn't start with elections. Ever, if you look down in memorial, Nigerians in diaspora have always been vocal. Well, in terms of when we wanted to send out the military, and the June 12 operations actually, Radio Kudirat and all of that.
That's
you know of Daily Momodu of today, Ovation magazine. Ovation actually started with funding from the governments of the UK. So that's another good plus of the diaspora. But I'm just trying to say that Nigerians abroad have never waited for a moment because they've never been detached. Maybe you would see that the momentum was built in this last election because of the pressing need for change and I'm not saying the APC change, but the change that they think they need. They realize that they're sending more money into the coffers of the economy for their families. Things are getting tougher. Is this going to be the system that they continue to invest in? And they're a huge and reliable investor in the GDP of the country because they bring in the second highest foreign exchange reserve, and that is more than the GDP of about 34 states out of the 36 we have. So it's a really rich constituency, and they have a stake in what happens here. But again, and unfortunately, we still don't have the right to vote.
Well, one of the reasons why the Nigerians in diasporas don't have a right to vote is because the chairman of the Senate in charge of election matters says the population in diaspora has not been ascertained, and so to avoid having irregularities here and there, they have to stop Nigerians in diaspora. So I believe there's an organization. There's a group that. So what is the group doing to actually overcome this challenge? So previous years, you could be allowed to participate in the elections.
I would first and foremost like to give honor to whom honor is due, and that is to Bimbola Afolayan, who has been the head of the center body that coordinates Nigerians in the UK, most especially Kanuk. I think he stepped down now. He's done fantastically well in his tenure to really bridge the gap between the government of Nigeria and really the realities of the diaspora. For the Senate President or whoever is in charge,
chairman in charge,
and matters. I think he needs to really work more with those organizations and associations.
Now, have you walked up to him?
Because in truth, it is about 18 million Nigerians in diaspora, with the UK and the US having about 2 million each. So the statistics are there.
Very accurate.
Very, very accurate. If we can't get it from the Nigerian embassy because we haven't put the structure in place, but you can get it from the UK government.
Are you considering the numerous number of Africans, of course Nigerians, who take out of the country illegally, who probably wouldn't be accounted for from the statistics coming from outside the country?
Well, there you go. You said yourself illegally. I'm talking about, why don't you start with what is even legal, which you have at the point of entry of any country. You would have the authorities taking details and biodata of anyone coming into the country and anyone leaving the country. When you go into college, when you go into hospital, they have all of these databases that takes all this information. So if they really wanted to ascertain, and if you even wanted to know the number of Nigerians that have actually been changed nationalities, you still can get those data if you really wanted to do that. But I'm not saying that they're not doing anything, but it isn't true that we don't have an idea of what the statistics.
There's a school of thought
that
believes that whatever it is we're working on in bringing in Nigerians outside there and the role they can play in national development here would be jeopardized by the teeming numbers of these illegal migrants. Have you identified what can be done, especially by the incoming government, as regards this?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
I'm talking about the millions, if not hundreds of millions of Africans, of course Nigerians, who yearly illegally move from Nigeria to what they prefer, what they would love to call greener pastures. There are many who believe that whatever it is the plan we're working on in impacting the influence of Nigerians outside on the national development here, it will be jeopardized by this illegal migration and the kind of things they do out there. Have you been able to identify what the incoming administration can do about that?
I have identified things that the incoming government can do. But first and foremost, I want us to concentrate on the larger number of Nigerians that their brains are contributing to the development of the world. You name it, healthcare, airspace, you name it. Nigerians of brilliant minds are emerging by the day. Even now, they have proteges, children of those generations that were illegal or whatever name you call it. They're doing fantastically well. You cannot say of the small number of people that you have in any nation anyway that are illegal, doing wrong things. You have that of anywhere, and of course the image of Nigeria itself, I would say, hasn't gotten to the state it is in the minds of the foreign community only by illegal immigrants. What we do in Nigeria itself, in terms of corruption and all of those things, gives us that ink of watch out, watch out, watch out. So in general, in totality, Nigeria needs to overhaul its image. And one of the things that the Nigerian government can do, that I know the diaspora would like to see, is first and foremost to really take seriously this idea of us being a sovereign nation. You can't keep bringing in policies that you and I know aren't positive for us as a people or a nation. Then, for example, when Nigerian government starts promoting made in Nigerian products, indigenous markets, then the Nigerian diaspora, who already is helping to nurture these things by having, because when they migrate, they go with their culture, they go with their food, festivals and everything, and that is how other GDPs come into the nation. So we really want the government to stand up to its right powers and maximize that, and stop playing jumble or jumble to other governments of the world. Stand up when you have to stand for. Then number two, help to tell other nations that you don't joke with your citizens. I don't care what you say your citizens has done. The best you can do is send back my citizen, and I will know how best to deal with my citizen without disrespecting your laws. So Nigerian government, because many of these issues, you'll find that Nigerians are even roped of these issues just because they know our government will be nonchalant about it. Did Nigerians start this xenophobia in South Africa? Did we? Are we the reasons behind so many other issues around the world? No. The only crime you would say that they've committed would be this aspiration and love to explore that is in us, and it is natural. But I also agree that the ones that are bad eggs should be identified and punished, but it's not a total image. Then another thing the Nigerian government can do is in terms of the legal system. It's a joke what we have right now.
How do you mean?
I mean, it's a big joke. You can't even sign a contract that is binding and know you can take it to court and that it will be upheld. So indeed, the government, and probably that is a separation. It happens. I mean, like I've just said to you, a foreign organization could come and you've signed all the contracts and all that to come and establish here. The Nigerian counterpart may pull out. Then you go to court and you're in court for years. That is one of it. Then even as simple as the contract of probably the building you're going to rent, arbitrary rise in rents, just like that. So many of those things you can't then take to court because it's about a no man system. So that puts away the diaspora that wants to come and invest, that wants to be here. I know Nigerians also, go through it, but like I told you, if you have a loan in the UK or anywhere in the developed world, you're meant to make repayment at certain times, at the right time. If not, your credit rating, which gives you the permission of what amount of money you can borrow, would be affected. So you can actually be a pauper, not because you deliberately defaulted on your loans, but just because of the systems there. Then another thing that the Nigerian government really needs to be doing, and that I know the diaspora would appreciate, is, look, Nigerians in the diaspora are your second highest investor. You have to treat us with respect. And when I say with respect, it's not just tokenism of you're bringing the achievements or the accolade of a government to an exhibition or a conference, but it is actually factoring in from now what would be the stake of the diaspora. And I still think, if I'm representing my constituency very well, we want the right to vote.
We'll get there because there's a lot of celebration, if I can put it that way, as we get the kind of improvement that we're getting in our electoral system in Nigeria. And we believe that if we can first fix it here at home, then that can be secondary. But there are very few courageous Nigerians like you and Femi Oke that we interviewed earlier who've been there and who also have the courage to come back home and start businesses and, of course, start some of their dreams right here in Nigeria? What would you say is responsible for that? At one point we called it brain drain, but at the other point also is the fact that there are thousands of Nigerians out there who are well-to-do, who are privileged, who have ideas about how things can be done here, who probably do not have the courage to come back home.
Home is where your heart is, first and foremost, because like you said, let me give you an example of my cousin who has a son that has Rett syndrome. Rett syndrome means it's practically lying on his back from the day of his birth to today. Can you help me to think of how that cousin of mine would cope in this system? Is it going to be from a healthcare system here? If she can't afford the private care, or are you telling me in terms of him still having the right as a citizen, to the point that they're still saying if he wants to vote, he has the right to vote? It goes to some kind of school. He still has a life. He has an adapted house for him with his condition. I'm not saying that you want to remain there because of it. That isn't luxury. That is a necessity for me, being a disabled person. We're still trying to even, one of the things on the platform of Arise for All was the campaign for priority voting that we won in the last elections. We're still even saying respect people with disabilities. So I would say it's a judgment call. You need to know what you can cope with. I, being back in Nigeria, had 2 reasons. I mean, the last port of call of my work was at the UK Parliament. And I was in one of those committee meetings, and I really felt this decision being taken about Africa, if I continue this way, I'm not really helping my nation. I'm not helping my country. And my heart has always been here because of my parents. They've always been into community building nation. My mom was a politician, and I remember her always helping people. But when she passed away, and I was still in mourning, but the sheer turnout of people to commensurate and be there, I'm like, where are you all coming from? And they started telling me stories of how my mom did this in one community, in one village there and there. And it made me start thinking, really? So those efforts were of, good. I want people to, I don't want to die now though, but I want people to say good things like they're saying about my mom. So that inspired me. And then secondly, I've told you, I from the program I did at the UK Parliament, I could then go on to stand as an MP. Then I had that call that I've always wanted to come and do things here. What's the worst that can happen that I'm back in my own fatherland? And I tell you, since I've been back 2.5 years, that means almost 3 here. It's been, every time I go to the airport, I'm reminded I can travel. Yeah, it's hard here, but I love my country, and I'm willing to pay this price to be back here. But it's really a sacrifice to be here. In terms of the salary earnings, forget it. In terms of, I'm treated, but I think I have the Nigerian accent now, so I'm no longer treated like so, and I think I've paid my Owomogo. So I think I've gone through that phases. Then I've taken time to understand the culture better. In my newness as a Bitoni in Nigeria, it's not the same when you were schooling, that your parents would take you around in their cars and everybody treated you right. Then in the process, I've been able to be there for my dad who passed away in the last 3 months, in March. So I can't explain the wholeness I have felt in being back, but the pressure to go back has never left me.
I see.
And if Nigeria doesn't change, I just might go back. But no, I think I really want to be a part of this new thing that is being birthed about our nation.
You've been here 2.5 years, like you said.
2.5.
Is it a possible dream? Is it impossible given the experiences that you've had? I'm talking about the change.
I mean, I told you about the rigorous campaign that we did. I'm in the development sector, and I work a lot on policies. I think I would like you to judge if you think that change is possible and if it's been worthwhile. Some of the things I've done in association with the very brilliant minds of various NGOs in Nigeria, civil society groups that I doff my hat for. They do know what they're doing. They have the capacity, and I have learned tremendously from them. some of the things we've done is we've been working with the Lagos State House of Assembly to understand what it means to truly represent the citizenry. So if you've seen the growth in town hall meetings, asking their constituency to come and meet with them, that's one of the works we've done. We campaigned rigorously, observing all the other elections before the general elections, trying to see how inclusive or exclusive it is for people with disability. And in the last election, we were able to reach the point where we had the Braille pamphlets for people with disability. Priority voting is now part of our electoral system. People with disabilities, priority for pregnant women, the elderly, that has been part of it. And then when you also talk about participatory budget, which is educating ordinary Nigerians about understanding the role they need to play in budget making, monitoring of your budgets, and Nigerians are now asking and demanding.
You shouldn't be in a hurry to leave then.
That's why I said to you that when I see those beautiful things that I've only just added the value of where I am coming from, because one of the things I do, which I think is from the diaspora, is I have a clear vision of what can be, what the system can be. And when my Nigerian counterparts feel weary, tired, I say, you know what, we can get there. And I go the extra length, or I take up that burden more, or I drive it and they say, oh, Nisheshi, but I know I Nisheshi. But at the end of the day, I think we have a brilliant human capital that is underutilized in Nigeria.
Oh, you Nisheshi, that's a good Nigerian vocabulary.
Yeah, okay. Which my friends call me and say that you're so Nigerian. And I voted, so.
Okay, good one. Okay, looking ahead of a new dispensation, actually, what would you say, what would you put forward to this new government to really consider as something that would help people like you want to stay back more in Nigeria?
I think that it's not even about me, because I think I'm just one of the very millions of Nigerians that have this aspiration for a better life, and we are entitled to it. I think the first thing that I think is missing in any government is people-centered governance. You know, when you say people-centered governance, it doesn't mean everyone is in government. That is why, hopefully, we've elected those representatives. But what I'm saying is that before you roll out that policy that enables a foreign organization to come and set up here without the proper laws and guidance on how they'll treat the Nigerian staff, then that isn't people-centered. Before you sign a policy that would enable a tobacco company back here, when the whole world is rolling away from zero tolerance to smoke and second person perceiving of smoke, then that is not people-centered. Before you
a bill was passed recently by the Senate as regards that.
Before you start borrowing that monies that you're leaving for the generations to come, when indeed if you just block the holes in the systems, then that isn't people-centered governance. People-centered governance is going to be, I have this number of children and I have to be fair to all of them. They deserve a good life education. How am I going to put that on their table? That is what has always been missing. It is not about a new refinery or a new minister or a new policy. We have everything in place. But it's about the monitoring, it's the implementation and the enforcement.
Let me take you quickly back to, I don't know where you lived, Europe?
I lived in the UK.
In the UK.
Yeah.
There's this challenge of acculturization. The fact that people get out there and then there is a complete eroding of the African values that they came there with. It starts with a change in tongue anyway, but then there are more to that. Oh no, I think you lost it already. But then how do we keep it going? He made mention, Femioke made mention of the role of Nollywood, probably the movies and all of that. Do you think that really works?
I think that upbringing matters, and I think that my parents, my dad did marry a non-Nigerian and had my siblings, but my siblings are also very grounded. So I think it's the upbringing. And for me, I think that one thing we should also do understand is there might be some things in our culture that you need to shed and embrace a new culture. But you would be the one to decide on what that is. But for the opportunity of the way they describe the diaspora in the past has always been a victimization perspective of, oh, they were slaves, oh, you know, they have no history. Now the economic boost to any developed world from the knowledge of the culture of where you come from alone, what that brings to the economy is, I can't even say it in digits. Not to talk of the revive of the economy. Let me tell you a story. You know this Agoyewa and Agege bread? There's a part of London, and if people in the diaspora are watching, they would say I'm leaking the secret. There was actually a nanny, a grandmother that came to help her daughter nurse a new birth. And whilst there, she would cook this very patiently long cooking beans, and she would bake that agoyewa. Do you know that it became a little industry that now the British government actually is funding that woman to help to build that as a community project that other Nigerian kids can come, and now she's expanded to Ugi, Akamu, Akara, Moi Moi, and all of those things that we miss when we're not here, or that you cannot cook properly, you know. No, I didn't say that. But in truth, she's made an industry and people are there. Then there are so many other people that would come and start, grandmothers would come and start speaking their own local language to the kids in the house. And now you find kids having weekend classes of learning Yoruba. So it's going to be about the parents. I have never been one that wants to add H to Abimbola. My name is Abimbola. There's no funkization of those things. I don't think it's going to add value to me. And in my work experience there, I worked more in white-oriented organizations, and they appreciated me for who I am. I remember taking rice and dodo to work, and the aroma would cover the office. And they would say, oh, what's that? And I would say, it's Nigerian rice and dodo. I kept saying that. And, you know, they're adventurous. And they just said, what is it? I said, come and taste. And at the Christmas party, they gave me £100 to cook a large portion of jollof rice dodo, and, you know, and it finished at the party. And now that I'm away from the UK and everything, when they want to send a message to me, they'll say, Abby, I'm still getting better at making my jollof rice. And that's it. If you don't carry your culture, your beliefs, your all of that with dignity, with pride, you know, you won't be able to sell it to someone else.
What impact do you see this having on the larger picture?
That is what I'm saying about what you've seen to be the upsurge in the African diaspora being interested in what happens back home. You know, when Nigerians come into the country and they're going back, check their luggages, you see the Nigerian attire, they want the magazines, they want to be affiliated, and then with the hope that would come back. Even though some people think it's always about the economic disadvantage of old age, but the developed world does have pension scheme, so you'll still be taken care of. But it's just this belief that I never really left home and I should come back home. You know, so they always prepare for that. And like I said, home would always be home. You may be anywhere in the world, home would always be home. So they still want to be part of it. And I also say it's the far-reaching need to keep dipping further and further into their pockets for that school fees that has grown skyrocketed. So they want to know what's happening. They're a stakeholder. So they want to know. They've sent their siblings to school. They're not seeing the quality in their education. So they can't just be sending money because, again, it's hard-earned, you know. So for them, it's a case of I'm an investor. I want to know how my money is spent. I want to know the future of what I'm putting my money into. And also, I want to represent my nation well, because you get all kinds of vibes. I mean, one is this story all over the internet just at the weekend that a restaurant was shut down because it was selling body parts. Someone may get to work, a Nigerian may get to work, and they would throw it at you. Oh, you people now eat humans? And the Nigerian can get the fact and set it straight. I used to do that a lot. I don't come from a defensive point, maybe because I have to be understanding of my siblings, but I don't come from that defensive point. I feel that it's an opportunity to educate and enlighten the other person about my community. And usually when you do that, they embrace it.
Well, no doubt every year in, year out, we have an increasing number of people who yearn to check out of the country, especially from the African continent. But on the other side, there is also some school of thoughts who believe that there are more opportunities here in Nigeria because over there the system seems to be working, you have structures on ground, but there are enough problems here to be solved, and that gives way for more opportunities. Would you say, for someone who's in both sides, what would be your message to those young Nigerians, especially graduates who have spent the past 4 or 5 years in school, but then their biggest dream would be going out to Europe and testing new waters?
My heart does goes out to the young Nigerian, because this environment can be hostile towards young people. And I do run a program called Youth of Our Lives, where we do programs like an e-club, where we actually stimulate their minds that it's okay to come and stir your dreams up and fail if that happens. You know, their counterparts in the other nations don't have to go through that heartache simply because the government of that nation has taken them hook, line and sinker, knowing that our youth, they're important. They're important to our future. They're part of us, and we must make them flourish. So I always say that I have a lot in me that I want to express, and I can't give up on those dreams. So I would want to keep looking for opportunities. Even on the Youth of Our Lives platform that we have, we do have a hub that shows them this opportunity of free trainings, free seminars, anything that can help them to aspire more, meet other counterparts of theirs in the world, to shape their minds, not to run away. But if they run away, whatever you face is your problem. But I think it's first and foremost that we must make the Nigerian youth believe that home is home for them as well.
So how much hope do you have in this incoming government to stem the tide that we already have in Nigeria?
I am going to go by the credibility of the president elect. That's the only thing I'm hoping on. I've heard so much talk about his integrity, about his love for the ordinary masses, which we saw in his elections in the north, the followership that is cult-like. And they've always said he's remained a grassroots person. So I think if the leader shows the way, people do follow. If he leads by good examples. And good example means that if we had any issues such as the NIS crisis, the recruitment for the young people, that the minister gets sacked the next day if he himself doesn't put in a resignation. That's good leadership. When you meet people halfway and show you're an ordinary Nigerian that we are sending on errands, that's good leadership. I'm not too sure of every other thing around them, and those are not the people that will be called to justice. It's about the leadership. So I'm hoping that he truly understands that Nigerians are beautiful people, and it should help bring out the best in us, and I'm just hoping on that. So it's really a personal call more than the institution.
Abimbola Junaid, thank you very much for finding time.
I did warn you that I talk a lot.
No, wonderful. It was wonderful talking with you. She's the executive director, Arise for All. We hope that you also find some other time to join us on Call Digest.
Yeah, that reminds me, Nifemi, ladies will always do the world proud. Yeah. I had a guest yesterday that was saying ladies are a bit laid back, but Abimbola Junaid has done justice.
To that, right?
Thank you.
But all these Nigerians in diaspora said,
I said I was
they come back to the country, and then you want to get a radio job, they'll tell you if you don't have a foreign tongue. Did you study in America?
I mean, in my years of being here, I've not driven. I take the public bus if I have to. On the Okada before it was banned. I've been to the north of Nigeria, Kebbi, Jigawa. It's not easy to be back. But if you don't do that, you keep paying the Owomogo. You need to know. Now I know that if my driver tells me he's on the way, maybe 2 hours he's not here. So I need to be out by myself, and he meets me up there, and I'm reducing his salary. But if you don't try, if I came in here with all the accents and all the fluffiness and all that, I bet you won't invite me again. That's the way of saying invite me again.
It's all right.
I've enjoyed myself.
We'll take a break now and we'll be back with more. Don't go away.
It is often said that the future belongs to those who are inspired to dream. Dreams of a future where you're more than able to move the entire world.
Mom, one day I'm gonna be a superstar performer.
Yes, one day.
Rich and creamy peak, extra fortified with 28 vitamins and minerals. Here's to 60 years of nourishing dreams and inspiring the future. The future is bright. Reach for your peak.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. It's an interesting show today. We have the guy who's been in the UK for 40 years. He's got a stronger language there. We find it hard to understand really what I'm saying. But we try because we watch a lot of BBC and CNN time. And then we had another lady who also has been there for 12 years thereabout. I've traveled wide and far to Tayo. I've been to Abuja. I've been to Benin. I've been to what other part of the world?
I've been to Kitsu. I've been to Sierra Leone.
All right, it's been a great show. We'll be back tomorrow, God willing, with another exciting edition of the program called Digest. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.
And I am Omotayo Alo. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Every day of the week will bring to you divergent views on news making the headlines.
If people who commit crime are being rewarded with national honors, with national appointments, then where are we going in this country?
It's not about whether it was Jonathan or whether you are going to have a Buhari. It's the kind of political structure we run.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
We are talking about a Buhari who at 41 became head of state. The man did not exhibit the attribute of somebody that is strong intellectually.
So, comrade, you're saying if you become governor, you're going to bring back Okada?
Of course.
You will bring back the market women on the streets?
Excuse me, don't put words into my mouth.
On Core Digest, we bring all of this to the court of public opinion, where you are the judge.